Good day, everyone. My name is Peggy. Thank you for joining us for today's podcast number one, following the conclusion of the recent AMA, Ask Me Anything. If you did not participate in the live AMA session, you can still watch the recording on IFL's Facebook page. Today, I'll be talking to Wheeki about her experience with special needs planning. He is the Senior Manager of Community Engagement at the Special Needs Trust Company. Do note that everything said today is for education purposes and do not constitute financial advice. Each person's circumstances are different. Please do your due diligence or speak with a professional counselor or licensed advisor before making your decision. Call SNTC and speak to their trained case manager to find out more about how SNTC can help you. Hello, Wheeki. Welcome to this podcast.
Hi, Peggy. Thank you for having me once again.
So, before I start with the questions, can you share with our listeners today something about you? For instance, how did you get started serving in this special needs community?
Sure. So, for me, I personally feel that special needs is everyone's responsibility because I also feel that our society is based on helping others, and because it can easily be us some days, right? So,
Yes.
speaking purely from a co-parent as a godmother to a single dad child who is on the spectrum, I think parenting is really not about who you think who your child should be or should have been, but who the child is supposed to be, and you become who you are supposed to be. So special needs, right? It's this community serving them. It's human and it's humbling. And to me, it's hugely, hugely amazing.
Yes, I think it also reveals a lot about ourselves in terms of, how we see differences. And I would just like to shout out, thank you for being a god mom to this child with a single dad. And that is really serving in your own personal capacity. Yeah, so let's just get going, right, with the
Sure.
questions. Yeah, that
Right.
some people may feel will help them in their walk. Some parents with younger children with special needs feel that it's probably too early to plan for the future, and there are so many issues to deal with in the family and school. How would you advise them when it comes to this kind of planning?
Okay, so for me, I'm going to speak both as a capacity of a godmother because I've actually been journeying with this godson for a long, long time. So
Oh,
for me, right, firstly, I certainly feel that whether children, young or old children, caregiver, we have got many challenges to deal with, and it's not just of developmental milestones that we're looking at. In fact, where development milestone is concerned, it's never a question of when, right? Because there's so many things that can happen, but really a question of for milestone, where milestone is concerned, it's a question of if. So rules
mm,
are tossed out of the window. So one ammunition that you've got is really to plan. Therefore, it's never too early to plan. So the fact that you're in this podcast shows to me that you might have some budding interest in these issues. So I would say that plan, right? So if the child is still a minor, look into guardianship. And then, of course, I can't overemphasize on the need for a care plan. It is come to SNTC for a care plan, which to me is forward planning because it offers you an idea of how much you need for the care needs for the lifetime of the care recipients, right? And SNTC care plan always places the special individual at the center of the planning process and is often tailored to their special needs. So we want to ensure that they get to enjoy life and also be able to maximize their potential. And of course, finally, do consider setting up the trust if there is trust relevant, right? So yes, that's my 2 cents.
yes. Yes, thanks for that advice. Now, coming to the next question. Recently, a few TV drama series have portrayed people with autism in everyday life. It appears that some of them can function well. Is this oversimplification? And are there issues such as personal finance to consider?
Right. Actually, I have quite a lot of things to say about that, right? So Right. In show, I like to say that in show, you can get a star award, right, for doing the show well. But in life, really, you are stuck with the sad truth. So let me talk about two production, one being local and the one being the non-local. So our local production recently, we've got this thing called Your World in Mind. It has garnered many positive review, and rightly so. So they place a strong focus on the struggles of family who have children with special needs, and the strong emotions will actually put across quite vividly. Now, the awareness, the reminder needed that we should be more compassionate and to show more empathy when you encounter these children is there. And I like this aspect very, very much. But let's look at the overseas production. I do feel that some of the special needs children have been oversimplified by the film industry, right? They tend to be used as dramatic, emotional, and even comedy effect upon I would like to say, the protagonist of the story. So they
Even some
use
of them are sevens, right? Yeah. So
exactly, right.
yeah,
So they use
yeah.
the cute aspect of autism, like the extraordinary um, uh, attorney role from the Korean recent
Their
film.
abilities,
Right.
yes.
Yes. So, but there are financial issues to contend with unless your kid, like you said,
Mm,
the good Dr. Sean Murphy, which is a
yeah.
young genius, right? A surgical
Yes.
resident, right? Like surgeon, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and he's able to solve many of the issues that normal neurotypical surgeon cannot. But life
Mm,
really is not those Hallmark sweet movie where the special needs kids teach family how to live and everyone is happy. It's not like that, right?
mm,
So yes, we
They do
do have
grow
to
up,
plan.
yeah,
Yes, and we
with
do
a lot
have
of
to
comorbidities.
true, and we do definitely have to plan for
Mm,
financial uh forward planning, definitely for sure.
yes,
Kids need
yes.
to be able to take care of themselves as well. Sure.
Yeah, it's really about, what will allow them to continue with their current standard of living, yeah, for as long as the parents can manage, yeah. So that leads us to the next question actually on the ballpark, how much money should one set aside for their children with special needs? Big one,
Uh,
yeah.
Right. Okay. Quite honestly, I think that that's not going to be an accurate guesstimate because type of lifestyles differ, type of special needs conditions, therefore ranging from mild to severe, and therefore a differing level of cares and support also differs. Types of condition that defines the life expectancy also differs, and types of service, the cost of supporting the needs can therefore, I would say, vary widely, especially if the families perhaps offer private services to support their child. That is why you need a care plan, and there's no one size fit all care plan. So every family is unique and require a different care plan and therefore budgeting plan as well. But care plan will help you find your groove. So no ballpark.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think it's almost like planning for someone's retirement, and I think the real shocker comes in when you throw in inflation, and that's when the digits start to start to become very scarier. But I think this is just giving a forward warning, yeah, that we need to deal with these numbers, as caregivers, and that we should not, be too frightened by them, really. And at SNTC, you do asset and estate planning with caregivers to endow trust accounts. So can you share with our listeners what are the typical types of planning that takes place?
Actually, quite honestly, we do not do financial and estate planning. In fact, I believe that our host IFL will be better positioned to provide that sort of advice. In fact, myself and my family, we've benefited quite hugely from some of the some of the top module that IFL has presented for me, like stretching the dollar, budgeting, even insurance. Those are very good place to start. But our specialty really is in trust for special needs. So once the trust is set up, we will be
Mm.
able to guide you to earmark the assets to be injected into the trust account. So that is the sort of planning that we will be able to journey with the
Mm.
settler.
So I suppose the role that SNTC plays is to help the caregivers ask the right questions, right? When they meet up with their lawyers, when they meet up with their financial advisors, right? With a particular focus, right, on their special needs beneficiary. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, thanks for bringing that focus to what SNTC does. And perhaps, the last one, what would be the 3 or 4 things that caregivers must pay attention to?
Again, I would say that, for example, if your loved one lack the mental capacity to manage the financial affair, we will not advise putting assets in his name, right? Otherwise, trust deputy might need to be appointed, right? And that will stretch you
Yes.
in 2 ways: longer process and perhaps more money is needed. So if your child is able to live independently and have the mental cap to do that, then perhaps identifying a successor caregiver who might be able to support him when parents are no longer able to is important. And if your child cannot live independently, then I would say that caregiver need to also consider hostel, group home, or disability home. The idea is to always start early, and perhaps you might be young now and be more insurable and with better health to do that as well. So build up your fund. Life throws a curveball to everyone. And for those of you who are listening into this podcast, maybe you have gotten hit sooner than some. But the thing with us human nature is that we tend to focus on things that have gone wrong. But then we grow the risk of missing the good things that are just right in front of you. So focus on the good things
Right.
also.
Thank you, Wheeki. That's really very practical advice. We have reached the end of the podcast today, and we thank our listeners for tuning in. You have just listened to a podcast from the Institute for Financial Literacy, a collaboration between Money Sense, the National Financial Education Initiative, and Singapore Polytechnic. IFL provides free and unbiased financial education programs for members of the public. So check out our website at ifl.org.sg to find out more. Visit, like, and follow our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and Telegram. Stay tuned for another podcast. In the meantime, be safe and have a financially rewarding day.